nice fun question.
Okay.
February Black History Month. What does that mean to you? What does, I guess, UNC mean to you and their contributions to Black history at UNC, especially with the men's basketball program?
Well, I mean, it's, a celebration for the history of African Americans here. And, I'm proud to be African American, and, an awareness for our players and getting them to understand the people before us that have allowed us to experience the things that we're experiencing now. My dad was the first group of students to integrate schools in the Charlotte, Mecklenburg County area. That's just one generation away. And so letting our guys understand and know that, and the benefits of us being able to be at this university, whether it's a student or being a head coach, is something that has been fought for in the past, and is something to be thankful for.
What did you learn from the first Florida State game that you can take into knowing what you need to do tomorrow?
Well, I mean, from an offensive standpoint, it's really important for us, ball and player movement. When they're so long and athletic, they switch everything on and off the ball. They take you a lot out of, your just regular offensive sets, and you have to create. And it's just really important for us to get out in transition. It's very important for us to drive and get to the basket and not necessarily score, but draw defenders, and then be able to pass out and then be able to shoot threes and create shots off the dribble drive. And so we got to take care of the basketball. I mean, it's a team that leads the ACC in steals, turnovers, and their length in the passing lanes, can bother you if you're not moving on the offensive end. And then defensively, we just got to rebound the basketball. They're going to go to the offensive glass. They're going to try to attack the basket. They do a terrific job of getting to the free throw line. I think they're second in free throw attempts behind us. And so we've got to be locked in defensively and finish the defense without fouling and boxing out and getting the rebound.
Kind of building off of that, when you go back and watch that film, I think you got down as many as 14
Yep.
in the first game. What were some of the things that Florida State was kind of doing to build that lead against you guys that maybe you can learn from and take into tomorrow?
Well, we weren't very good defensively. We weren't impactful on the ball. We weren't protecting the paint. I didn't think the communication defensively was good in the half court. We allowed to get them in transition, and even though shooting from three is not one of their major strengths, I felt like we gave them not only open shots, but almost dare threes. They were wide open threes, and I don't know if it's the most all season, but they hit 12 threes against us. And so that's something that I feel and hope that we've improved on since that time, and that we can be better locked in defensively and not be down 14 in the second half like we were here at home.
When you're scouting them, how much is the film watching that first game, but also how much is it watching just their games in general throughout the year? What's kind of the split, I guess?
I think it's both. I think you can learn a lot from our previous game because, even though there's been tweaks and pivots and alters for both of us, we pretty much the same. Our style of play, their style of play, so you know what's coming, but also looking at their most recent games, especially their personnel, Cohen and Spears, they didn't play against us, and now they're rotation guys that play huge minutes and huge roles for them. So that's a difference as well. But we're excited for the challenge of going on the road again and playing against a team that is coming off of a road win against Syracuse and playing with a lot of confidence.
You mentioned defense a little bit. You guys are fourth in KenPom's defensive efficiency, which is the highest ranking since you've been back with the program. What makes this a good defensive team in your estimation?
Well, one, I think the commitment to how important it is for our success. I talked to them at great length about there needs to be a commitment in terms of defense and rebounding to put ourselves in a position to be successful. And so it's really on the players, their commitment to how important it is to our success. Then, with our ability defensively, we've got a number of guys, we can play, we're versatile defensively. We can play a number of different positions that I think really helps us. And then our rebounding. You mentioned about our defense. Our rebounding has improved as well. I think it's 9 straight games that we've out-rebounded opponents. So we're limiting teams to 1 shot every possession. We're protecting the paint, but we're also doing 2 things. We're protecting the paint, but we're also contesting the 3 as well. And so Mondo just a couple days ago said, "Coach, this is the most fun that I've ever had playing defense. Like, I'm really liking this. I'm like getting energized to get stops." And I think that's a good thing.
With communication, you hear a lot from coaches about guys have got to talk, whether it's screens or just the communication element has to be there. Do they do a better job of this group maybe than previously? Is it more about what you're talking about with commitment, that maybe even they over communicate more? How is that element of it and how that contributes?
I don't know. I don't like to compare, one team versus another team. I just know this team, the communication is really good, whether it's on offense or defense. And we talk all the time about talking early, loud, clear, and constant, not just on ball screens, but in transition, whatever action that we're talking about, out of bounds, underneath. And so there's a lot of dialogue out there, whether it's in practice, shoot around, or games, in terms of just being able to communicate and making sure everybody's in the right spot. But I've said this to you guys before, and I really believe they think about this as, that video that I showed them of Kevin Garnett saying that I was where I was supposed to be because I knew my teammate was going to be where he was supposed to be. And that type of trust is building with us, and I think that allows us to continue to improve defensively.
Hubert, on the offensive side, when you look at some of the slower scoring starts that you've had in ACC play, like Wake Forest, Pitt, is there like a common denominator among those stretches, or is it just, not making shots at the end of the day?
Well, I mean, whomever we play, I mean, that's a part of the process as well. I mean, we've played a really tough schedule against outstanding teams that, defensively, we're trying to find a rhythm on the offensive end to get the shots that we want, and in league play, you're playing opponents that know you more. And so they know Armando, they know RJ, they know their strengths, their weaknesses, and they try to take those things away. And so the thing for us is, even knowing that, still being able to execute offensively. I think it's a good thing that we can at times struggle to score and make shots and still generate points and still be successful out there on the floor.
One thing, we have a hard stop in 6 minutes for both Coach and Jaylen Withers, who's coming in, and Jaylen is coming in, so if you want to ask him something about Jaylen Withers, 6 minutes, go.
Coach, congratulations for a good start to the season. 3-0 against FSU. The possible hindrance of that record against FSU is Jameer Watkins. He had a career high 27 points against Syracuse last game, 17 points in the first game between you two. What is the best way to limit his scoring abilities, and what do you think about him overall?
Well, he's his talent is real. Tremendous athleticism and size. He can play multiple positions. The thing for him is he's just really good at attacking the basket, and because of his athleticism, he's able to score when he gets there and gets to the paint. So that's a huge emphasis on us, is to keep him out of the paint, but also defend him without fouling. He'll attack the offensive glass, and against us, I think he hit 2 or 3 threes, and that's something that just continues to improve for him. And so he's one of the better players in this conference, and he has our full attention tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Hubert, a 2-part question. Tomorrow also happens to be a matchup of 2 of the top teams in the ACC right now. I want to know how much have you harped on that to your guys, or if your guys even kind of pay any attention to that going into tomorrow's challenge.
I don't know if they pay any attention to that, but I haven't mentioned it to them or talked to them about it at all. One of the things that I always tell them is keep your eyes straight ahead, ignore all sideshow distractions, and it's late January, and the only thing that we need to focus on is our preparation, our practice, and our improvement. And we just happen to play Florida State tomorrow at 2. And so let's just keep our eyes straight ahead and just continue to grow, continue to get better and compete. And at the end of the day, you end up where you end up.
The second part of that question is guys like Jaylen and the rest of the guys that do come off the bench. What have you seen from them and their progression from the beginning of the year up until now? It seems like they're earning more minutes and they're making more contributions.
Yeah, I always tell the guys that everybody's going to get, opportunities, plural. But I can't tell you when, where, how, and the manner in which you're going to get it. But your job and your responsibility is when your number is called, you have to be ready. And you're right, the guys coming off the bench, when their number is called, they're ready. And they're making impactful plays on both ends of the floor. And we have won games because of our bench and the guys coming off the bench. And it's a great benefit for us to have that much talent and that versatility, and that's something that we're going to have to use tomorrow against Florida State.
Coach, this is going to be a little bit of a weird question. I'm doing an interview and a story later on a kid who lives in Austin, Texas, who's raised nearly $700,000 for the NIL collective for UNC just by eating ramen noodles and donating that money that he's saving from eating out to the collective, and then people jumped on that train. So he's nearly raised $1 million, and he's dedicating each bowl of ramen to a player on your team to keep them here. What does that mean to you that this kid in Austin, Texas is doing this?
That's the first I've ever heard that, and I'm not on X, and so that's the first that I've ever heard that. I don't even know how that works. I don't even know how to react to that. That's question. Yeah. My son eats ramen noodles, and Zayden likes it too.
I know it can vary by the situation, but in general, when another team is making a big run, are you more inclined to let them work through it and wait for the TV timeout so you can save timeouts for later?
No, if I feel like I need to call a timeout, I'll call a timeout. But I mean, if we're falling behind, I think everybody knows why we're falling behind. We're either not playing defense or we're missing shots or not executing. And so, but if I feel like it's in the best interest of our team to call timeout, I'll call timeout.
Last two questions, Shelby and then Dave.
Right. This is also, sorry, this is a X-related question, very unserious, but Harrison told us a little bit about your halftime speech in the Wake Forest game, and he said that there is a certain word that you use in place of a certain curse word, farts.
I use bejeebies a lot.
Okay. I was gonna ask, what else was thrown in there?
That's my main word, bejeebies.
Okay.
And I'm real mad, it's bejeebies abaweebies. I say that. That's when I'm really upset. I use that a lot too.
So that's like the top.
That's at the top, yes.
Your bejeebies, watch out.
Yeah, bejeebies or what in the world, and then watch out. Yeah, so that's all that stuff.
Hubert, what's the most amount of adversity or the biggest obstacle this team has had to clear for this point of the season?
The biggest obstacle? I mean, I don't look at it that way. I look at, what a joy and a blessing to be able to be around this group of guys every day. I just enjoy coaching them. I enjoy having relationships with them. I enjoy walking through this journey with them, and being in a position to help and to serve and to walk alongside them is something that brings me great joy, and it's a tremendous blessing. And so I don't look at coaching and I don't look at this group as obstacles. I look at it as a blessing and an opportunity.
Thank you, Coach. We'll get Jay